Chrissie is hilarious.
Chrissie, have you ever heard of the comedian Basha K. Ali?
No, that sounds like something you yell out before you blow up a plane.
30 seconds remaining.
But you know what good thing to say I dabbled in stand-up or something. I haven't even disrespected you at all.
I was very confused by the title, Everything Everywhere All at Once, because that's also what we call it when Ash takes off his shirt.
I shouldn't be up here. I should be in school on the other side of the ocean.
Hello. Happy Tuesday. It's the holiday season. Welcome to the Chrissie Mayr podcast. You can hear us on iTunes, YouTube, Spotify, SoundCloud, Rumble, Rockfin, Twitter, Twitch, even Facebook if they'll have us. Before I bring in my fabulous guest and friend, I have a couple of stand-up comedy shows to promote. Guys, I'm going to be I'll be in New York City December 27th at Stand Up New York for my friend Gino Bisconti's birthday show. It'll be myself, Gino Bisconti, Keanu Thompson, and a few others at Stand Up New York. So if you're in the New York City area, come on out to that show. Then I'll be in San Diego the first weekend of the new year, Friday, January 5th and Saturday, January 6th at the Mic Drop Comedy Club with Lila Hart. One show Friday, two shows Saturday. Then I'm heading to Dallas, Texas to headline Hyenas in Dallas, Thursday, January 25th. Yes. And then I'll be in Jersey headlining Tiff's in Morris Plains, New Jersey, Saturday, February 24th, I believe. Tickets are not on sale for that yet, but just keep your eyes peeled. And all my Jersey people, I will let you know as soon as they go on sale. And as always, like and subscribe, trying to get this channel to 100K subs. Yes, that's my goal before the end of the year. Oh my God, and look at this, a super sticker already from Big Raj. Just with no words, just the sticker itself. Isn't that the best? A man of few words. Our guest today is not a man of few words. He loves to talk. He's great at it. He's an indoorsman. I love that this is in his profile. He's like me. He's one of the people who, well, I don't live in LA. He lives in LA. I'm in New York, but we're both in these cities where people are like, why are you still there? He's a filmmaker. He's the director of Attack of the Doc, which you can buy now on Blu-ray. He is the publisher of Film Threat. He's the producer of Award This, and we'll be getting, if you haven't heard of these things, we'll be getting into all of them. Welcome to the show, Platinum Blonde icon, Chris Gore.
Hey, Chrissie. Thanks for having me on. Great. Oh, wow.
Yes, Frank Gore. I should have said Frank Gore.
Yeah. That was funny. Drunk 3PO Jay thought he forgot my name, and he literally looked at me, Frank Gore. I'm like, are you talking about me?
But haven't you known him for years?
Yeah, I mean, like, on the internet, but that was the first time I actually physically met him, and this was in Vegas, like in April, and the name stuck. Like, everybody just calls me Frank Gore. That's just my name when I drink. I turn into Frank Gore, my evil ego,
like a Frank the Tank.
Yeah, just like that.
Or like Gore the Whore.
I was called that many times in elementary school and junior high.
Elementary school kids were calling you a whore.
Well, there's like, no, it was also Chris Piss. That is,
I got that too. Chrissy Pissy my whole life.
Yeah, it's whatever. It's like, and when I named my kids, I have two grown adult children. When I named them, I
had no idea.
Very hard about their names because I know how elementary school kids think. I know the dumb junior high things that they come up with because my brain can do that also. So when I named my children, I made sure to give them very good names where it'd be difficult to mock them.
I really want to ask what the names are, but then people will probably creep on them on the
Right.
internet.
I'll let you know. I'll let you know. I'm gonna put in the private chat because they're like
Okay.
classic. At the time I named my kids, they were classic names. Now they're kind of more popular names. So I'll let you know.
Okay.
Go do that right now.
I used to think I really wanted to name my kids names like Hunter or Chase or not Buckley or something like that because that's like a dog's name. But I thought I wanted very trendy names.
Well, it's
Oh,
important.
yeah, those are still fine.
Yeah,
I
those
would
are
not
good names.
consider those outdated or even trendy.
Well, at the time they were not names because names go out of like they go out of popularity and they're kind of cyclical. But it is really important. A name is, especially for a kid, and you're about to go through this. It kind of, if you name your kid a certain name, they might end up at a strip club, right? Like that's like a stripper name. If you name your kid Candy,
Or Diamond or Bubbles or
yeah, they're not going to be a CEO, I think. If
oh,
so it's important. It's a really important name. Now your kid can give themselves a nickname if they want, or you can think of what the nicknames might be. But yeah, no, it's an important thing, and I don't know how much you've thought about it yet. So yeah,
I have been thinking about it. We pretty much know we we were always talking about like if it was a boy, we would kind of know right away. And if it was a girl, that would be more of a discussion. But I
right.
had like a short list of girl names. So who knows? Who knows what's gonna come out of this body here?
And then you gotta do middle name. So for my
Oh
kid's middle
yeah,
name, I honored their grandparents. So their grandparents'
that's nice.
names are in the middle names of my kids. So
My grandparents all have like classically old names, which I like Mildred.
those are good names. I love that.
Let's bring back Mildred. But I think Millie is cute.
Millie is cute. Millie is
Josephine is a stellar name.
yes.
Um, so we'll see. Yes, yes, yes. And then there's like your parents' names, but
Mhm.
it's a lot of pressure. You really are right. You don't want to set your kid up to be bullied first day of
Right?
school or become a stripper.
Things to
I u
avoid. Yeah,
I
for
used
sure.
to think I was for years because I always had corporate regular day jobs
Mhm.
up until like 2 years ago. I was even afraid like Chrissie was too casual. I was like, "Oh, are people not gonna take me seriously because
Mhm.
of my name, Chrissie?" But then I realized my personality would take care of that for me.
Right.
So it all worked out. Did you have day jobs? Were you a day job slave?
Yes, I've always I've had day jobs, but I've always had another job. So
Yeah.
all throughout, like, God, when I was just a very ambitious kid. So when I was 9 years old, I had paper routes, and I had 3 paper routes till I
Wow.
was
I had
19.
one paper route and I hit some lady in the butt with a newspaper. It was the penny savers that we would hand out. So we would have to fold them and put them in the plastic ourselves. Like the whole family really was doing it. I don't know what we made from doing that. It couldn't have been much, but we'd go around in our Plymouth Voyager with the side paneling that I would peel off and I would just chuck it out the window and hit somebody in the butt, and then I ducked down, and my mom was, like, driving, and she couldn't duck down, so she probably blamed it on her, but it's good to have jobs early
It's
on.
yeah, my I'll give you the sort of thumbnail of my weird work history. So, um, I had newspaper routes, like with 12 blocks, and it was like 20, 30 pounds of papers I'm carrying on my back, like as a kid. But the great thing about that is I always had money. So if I wanted to buy
That's
something,
good.
comic books, I bought a VCR when I was a kid, I bought movies. Then I ended up working at a video store, and I was so terrible with the customers up front because I was recommending the wrong movies. So someone would come in and say, "I need a good comedy." And I'd say, "Well, John Waters' Pink Flamingos is probably the thing you want to watch tonight." So because of my terrible movie recommendations, they put me in the back to transfer people's home movies to video. Then I worked
Wow.
it was awful. Then I worked at Burger King, the graveyard shift. I worked and then I started Film Threat magazine. I dropped out of college and I read a book on how to publish a magazine, and then I just did that thing. So
Fuck yes, that's awesome. So many people go, "Oh, like, They spend so much time in, like, the learning prepping phase that they talk themselves out of the going for it phase.
No, you can make mistakes on the job, turns out, but then Film Threat got such attention because it was distributed nationally. It was at, like, Kim's Videos in New York and, trendy bookstores in San Francisco and LA, and an editor from Hustler magazine reached out to me and said, "Hey, I really like the humor and the attitude of Film Threat. Can you write comedy for Hustler magazine?" They had this section in the front called Bits and Pieces, and it was all really crude humor. And I thought, yeah, I can probably do that. And that got me out to Los Angeles in
Oh,
1989,
wow.
where I worked for Larry Flynn. I still have office supplies I
How
stole
are
from the
you
office.
like, you don't look old enough to have done these things.
Well, I started young. I mean, that was like I was in my early 20s then. And then I don't know. I've always like I never smoked. No one in my family smoked. I was an indoor kid. So when I say I'm an indoorsman, I just stayed out in the sun. And then I never knew, like, I was raised by a single mom, as a lot of people in that generation were, but like, you know, I I um I never knew that my family didn't have money until high school when like all these kids were doing things like they're doing ski club and doing this and they all cost money. And I'm like, well, I have 2 pairs of pants and like 4 shirts, and that's what every kid has, right? And like
Right.
so, but it didn't bother me. Like, I think kids, this is important. And all the people who are holding off having kids, it costs too much to have a kid. No, it doesn't. No,
That's what I told myself my
yes.
entire 20s. I was like, "I'm gonna be impoverished." Like, I was paycheck to paycheck, and I was like, "How do people do this?"
Well, it's a lie, because as long as kids are loved, they don't need a million toys,
No,
right?
it's
Like they
true.
don't need, you see just our consumer culture that we have too much, right? We have too many things. And the thing
Right.
is just having raised 2 kids, the other thing that's weird is you can spend all this money on an expensive toy, but they'll go in the backyard and find a stick, and the stick is a lightsaber. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you give them, "Hey, we just got you this great toy," and it's like, "I found a stick," and like then they're playing with stick. But kids these days, like this is also, I realized this in the early 90s when I was raising my kids. Um, Parenting in LA is the worst I've seen ever. They treat children like they're the ones that are in charge, and you never negotiate with
Ooh.
terrorists or 3-year-olds.
I
So
hate the whole
I
I'll
hate
be,
that.
like, in line somewhere, and then how long "What do you want? Do you want this? Do you want a cake pop? Do you want an iced tea?" It's like, "Stop it. You're
Yeah.
holding up the whole line, and we're losing respect for you."
Right. One, you're gonna end up with a horrible, overweight kid. I remember when I was a kid, there'd be like one kid in the class who was overweight, you know?
Right, it would be
Luck of
very
the draw.
rare. It'd be
Yeah.
the
Now
fat
it
kid.
now it's the majority of kids are fat, and it's lazy parenting. It's the thing is this, the thing I observed in the 90s when I was like, I gotta really protect my kids. I gotta protect my kids because these parents are idiots. What do you want? And I actually don't care what my kid wants. My job is to give them all the information they need so that they don't die and they can live without me.
Right,
So
that's the
it's
goal.
guiding that, yeah, giving them a screen so you cannot be bothered, so you can be on your screen is the I have to physically hold it in when I see parents, and I see it all the time in Los Angeles. Here's the screen, and they got the kid, and just leave me alone. They're at dinner, take the screen, and they'll have it loud watching cartoons. And I'm
Which is
just, it
so obnoxious. It's
drives
like,
me mad.
why did you have kids to just put them in front of a screen? It makes me really angry too. I was like, how long I'm thinking like, how long can you actually hold off on giving a kid a screen? And then people make the argument, well, they could get really good at video games and then maybe get good at computer graphics, or maybe they can become a video game tester, or maybe they're practicing motor skills. Like people, I've heard those arguments, but I just go, ugh,
Well,
it
one
just
thing
seems
this
like a big distraction.
well, this is a weird, I'm gonna do a little parenting pro tip. So, yeah, I mean, look, it's not as if your kids shouldn't watch movies. First movie I saw with my daughter in a theater was The Lion King, the original animated one, and it was really profound experience. I mean, the beginning of that movie, it's like Bambi, li it's that movie holds up. But one thing my kids, it helped their reading, you're gonna laugh, or maybe you won't. I had them watch Disney sing-along videos with the bouncing ball on the words, and they start to recognize what the words are that match with the voice. They were reading before they were in school. Like, we would go through
No
books.
way. That's a hot tip. So just
So
bouncy sing-alongs.
yeah, and read books to your kids every night.
Yeah,
Like, one parent to the other.
that's a given.
They'll have favorite books where they're like, "Can we read this one for the 600th time?" And it's good. You get them to read. If you can just get them in the habit of reading. That was something I remember when I was a kid, I gotta give my mom credit for. On Sundays, we would just sit and read the newspaper and read books silently Sunday morning through the afternoon.
I love that.
Reading time. Because if you give a kid the power of reading and they're interested, I mean, I think back all the books I read when I was a kid, like, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, Roald Dahl. I read so many books as a kid. Hardy Boys Mysteries. A lot of the books were kind of dumb. Beverly Cleary books.
Oh, yeah.
Ramona the Pest. Great book for an 8-year-old. But like those books, just getting in the habit of reading, that's everything. Reading comprehension, that helps you do well in school. If you learn to love reading and reading comic books, I think. I mean, I was reading comic books since I was 5. So
Why would you recommend comic books for a young reader?
I would recommend classic comic books, but just storytelling, just lessons, at least from the Stan Lee, Marvel era. He was great at that. I mean, his books were like Shakespearean operas, especially like books like the Fantastic Four. They were very profound. So, I mean, in their simplicity, they were profound.
I thought you were gonna say because of all the pictures.
And the pictures too, because that draws kids in. But yes, the pictures. But yeah, no, if you could just get your kid to read, I mean, I really think everything you need to know about parenting, you could put like in a pamphlet, or at least what I would tell you. And it's also simple. I'm not my kid's friend. When I see these parents that like, yeah, I smoke weed with my daughter. It's like, yeah,
No,
maybe when she's an adult, but not when she's a teenager.
that's horrible.
Yeah, like I'm not like, there are times I remember I had to go into dad mode. I would call it dad mode, which is like I wanted my kids to have a healthy fear of disappointing me.
Yeah, or of God, or
Yeah.
disappointing their parents. Not that like, yeah, you gotta be kicking their asshole, but there's so much of parenting that is discipline because you're setting them up for the rest of their life. Their physical fitness, their reading, how they problem solve. And that's why I look back and I'm so grateful that I was in sports, like really started 9 years old all the way through college, and it sets you up for the rest of your life to be able to handle rejection and disappointments gracefully. And I didn't realize that was a sports thing, because it happens. You're like, oh, I started in entertainment doing comedy and stuff, and stand up is nothing but disappointments and rejection. But I think that's the reason I was able to stick with it now 13 years, is because it's like, oh yeah, I was used to just failing constantly, literally physically getting hurt diving, and then or getting second place or something would be enough motivation to work harder. It's like the
Well,
immediate feedback in both sports and stand up, because it's like, oh, you can tell right away when you're not doing well.
well, I think there are great lessons from sports. It's how to lose gracefully, sportsmanship, just like, well, sportswomanship, whatever you want to call it. I don't, whatever, who cares? But like, no,
Sports
but there,
day ship. Yeah.
yeah. But we're the people trying to like gender neutralize everything is stupid. Um,
Kidding.
Good try. I don't think it's going to take hold. But no, like, there are great lessons from that. I mean, I was like, early on, I was just an entrepreneur. I wanted to have money because I wanted to buy things I wanted. Model kits and comic books and toys. Like, I got an allowance, but only if I worked. Only if I did the dishes and mowed the lawn would I actually get my allowance. And then like, well, how can I make more money? Well, newspaper routes. And then I figured out a way to like, well, I want like 4 newspaper routes. Because if I have one, I
Wow.
make this amount of money. But if I have 4, I'll make 4 times that. So I kind of scaled that. That was like my physical fitness. I mean, it was like every day walking home 2 miles from school and then walking 12 blocks delivering newspapers. and I had it down to like a thing, but no, those were really good lessons. And then I've always like when I went to work for Larry Flynt, that was like my first corporate job, and I was a college dropout. I said, college is too expensive. I'm gonna just funnel my money into this movie magazine that I started. And then that got the attention of an editor at Hustler who hired me. I came out to LA, and then I tricked Larry Flynt into buying Film Threat, which is a whole other. Seriously, I tricked him into buying it, and then he owned it for about 5 years, and I got the rights back and turned it into a website. But then I had like this bizarre, like in the late 90s, a TV career that lasted about 15 years. I was on a show called The X Show, which was fun. I worked with Mark DiCarlo, among others. And my first kind of like regular TV gig that led to every other gig. And then eventually on G4 TV, where that was the most satisfying gig because it was the only show that could really kind of just let me be myself and, and say whatever I want within reason. But I got away with a lot on that show.
That's great. You're like the best. You're like the best possible advertisement for dropping out of college.
Well, because I think it depends on what kind of job you want. If you want to get in the medical field or something technical, you probably want to stay in college. But even that, like when you look at like people like, not that I like this person, but Bill Gates, or Steve Jobs, they're college dropouts. I really think is
right.
Like we were talking about earlier. Look, you learn to read and you learn to educate yourself. Quentin Tarantino dropped out of school in the 8th grade.
What?
Yeah. He dropped out of school in the 8th grade, which is why, famously, if you read any of his original written screenplays, the spelling is terrible, but the words are poetic.
Oh my God. Why his parents let him drop out at 8th grade? He must have had a lot of paper routes too, because
he worked at a video store. I mean, he worked at it famously for years and just wrote scripts and was just a movie geek and self-taught. And I do think there's a weird scam to college, right? Like it's this weird, it's now become a factory and
you're learning what they want you to learn.
Right.
And there's so many requirements and so many elements to getting even a certain type of degree. And you have to pick a minor. And then you have to take whatever the liberal arts core classes are.
I just realized this was a thing because I paid for a lot of my own stuff. When you do that, like I didn't get loans. I got a little bit of financial aid, but it was just to pay the tuition. But my parents were debating, they were divorced and they were debating like who should pay for me. And I was working 3 jobs. I kept my newspaper routes through college. I worked at the video store during the week. And then on the weekends, I was a dishwasher at restaurants. So I was like, look, I'm tired of working all these jobs just so I can pay money to an institution who tells me what books to read. I have to read these books. And then I spend $40-50 on a book, a lot of money then. And then I have to read the book and then prove to you I wrote the book by regurgitating some of the contents in the form of an essay. I got so tired of this. I started to recognize like I can just buy the books and not pay the tuition. So I remember this very clearly. I was like, 18 years old. And I really wanted to go to USC because that was the school that George Lucas went to. And he was a hero of mine. So I begged my mom. We were visiting my uncle who moved to the West Coast. And I said, please, can you take me to the campus of USC? What do you want to do? I said, I just want to go there. I just want to go there. I want to go to the bookstore. Went to the bookstore. I looked at all the books for the film program. I spent $200 on books. I bought a big stack, as many as I could. And then I wrote down all the names of every book that the students that went to USC were reading.
That's really smart.
I'm not one of, look, I don't come from money, but I'm going to read all the same books that these rich a-holes are reading. And I'm going to get an education in film on my own. And that's what I did.
So smart.
And then I came back and I was going to Wayne State University, which is this commuter college in Detroit. And I made the list of all the books. I said, here, we can just read these books. We don't even need to go to this school. And then I dropped out. I failed because I was like always an A student. I always got great grades. I was in what they called back then. I don't even know if they still do this. The gifted and talented, which was
excuse me. Wow. Gifted and talented.
But I remember going like the ones that always got the 4.0 like straight A's were the most boring people. And
They were
I said,
never
"Well,"
anyone you wanted to be friends with.
right, and I'm like, "Okay, I know I can get an A if I do this, but I'm gonna read these comic books and read this other stuff." But even like when I was in college, I recreationally would read like wonky business books. I read this book, I never forgot this book. It taught me a lot. It was called Marketing Warfare, and it's about battles between companies like Coke and Pepsi, Burger King and McDonald's, why they fight for position. And it was a really fascinating book that there's updated versions of that book, but the book I read in the 80s like had a profound effect on me. So I've just always been interested, and I go from reading like stuff like books like Dune, right? That's a novel fiction to nonfiction like wonky books. I sort of bounce back and forth between them. One of the
Yeah,
books
between fun and practical knowledge.
right. One of the fun books I read a couple years ago that was a wonky book I recommend is called The No Asshole Rule. And
That's great in porn too.
right. For sure.
I had that rule in college.
But the book is really about if you have an asshole boss, how to deal with them, or also if you are forced to work with assholes because you're part of a company, you don't choose the people you work with. But it really helped me with when I relaunched Film Threat in 2017. I was very careful about the people that became part of Film Threat. I just wanted to curate a really, and we have Film Threat is basically Alan, myself, and 30 other writers and contributors and YouTube channel people. And it's, I don't know, we have so much fun, Alan. I also think because we're like adult dads, we kind of have an
Yes.
understanding. Alan Ing the Merciless is definitely like the brother I never had because I had all sisters. I had 3 sisters. And I
Like
had
the
one.
exchange student you always wanted.
Yeah, exactly. But no, I have 3 sisters. One I grew up with, my sister that, from my mom and dad. Then I had a half sister because my dad got remarried and had a daughter. And then I had a stepsister because my mom got remarried, or sister, yeah. Mom got remarried, and then so I have one of every type of sister
Wow.
you could have. So, but never had a brother. I always wanted a brother because I just wanted someone to like, hang out with. And so
Yeah.
I'm not going to say Alan's that person. I'm not giving him that credit. Not yet.
You
He has to
guys are both
work.
great, and you can tell you both very much, keep your inner child alive, and that comes through
Yeah.
in your work and everything you do. Eric Stratton, with a lucky super chat. I like Fawn as a girl's name, guaranteed to have simple assets. See, that to me even it's a cute name. Any name could be porny, I guess, if you really try. Matthew Hammond, Chris Gore has great taste in YouTube personalities. Stuttering Craig on Side Scrollers is interviewing Yui Bowl that you can watch later. Thanks,
That's
Matthew.
Uwe Boll.
Uwe.
Uwe
Okay.
Boll is known to be one of the world's worst film directors. I've interviewed Uwe before. I admire the guy because he gives no fucks. He doesn't care.
That's good. That's a great quality to have.
Yeah.
The Dark Side with Love. Hey, Chris Gore. I am a big fan. It was great meeting you at Chrissie's LA show. I was there night 2. No punch. Hail Simcast, hail F&T, hail RRR. Is that reading Rainbow?
Thank you, Dark Side with Love. Appreciate that. Yeah, I'm actually coming to your show I might go to both shows, January 5th and 6th. Alan and I are driving down together. And
I can't wait. I'm so excited for that.
yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, you've had a busy couple of months. You just had Film Threat's annual indie award show called Award This. It just happened this past Sunday night. My good friend Lila Hart was hosting for you. She told me, she's like, I'm actually going to California to host something for Chris Gore. I was like, oh, that sounds awesome. How many years has this been going on for? And just tell me about the process of, I guess, nominating and how you put together an award show, basically.
Well, this is our 5th year, but this is based on an idea I had in 1993. I wanted to do an award show that took place during the Oscars that made fun of the Oscars. And I sold the show to Comedy Central, and they bought
Oh, wow.
advertising in Film Threat. And 2 weeks before we were about to do the show, they pulled the plug. But it was advertised.
Why?
Oh, it was because I don't think they had faith in the actual producer who was doing the show. I was all the concept, but we had all these like crazy skits planned. Like I was going to dress in a tuxedo and walk up Hollywood Boulevard carrying a fake Oscar, just hugging random people for no reason. So, and then we were just going to mock because this, you don't remember this, I'm sure, but in the early 90s, Picture in Picture was
I wasn't even born yet.
Yeah, well, there you go. But like, so TVs then had this feature that everybody loved called Picture in Picture. What was that?
Yes, I remember that.
You could watch a TV show and then you could watch a different TV show in a small box. The concept was you would watch the Oscars, but have us in the small box, and we would be commenting silently on the Oscars. And then during the musical numbers and the commercials, you would switch to the full screen of us from Picture in Picture, and we would give you a countdown of when to switch back to the Oscars.
I think that's like the first live stream commentary, really.
Yes, I had concept designs. We did all these tests. We had all these comedy bits laid out that were going to be pre-taped. We had like comedians. Like it was a huge deal, and they pulled it with 2 weeks to go. And I never forgot this name. Award this. I want to do this. So we review at Film Thread about 2,000 movies collectively, not me personally. Between the 30 writers, Alan and I, and editors, 2,000 movies are covered on Film Thread, right? Indie movies, all the mainstream movies like the Marvels, but indie movies is our focus. So how do we get attention for those indie movies? We nominate 75 of those 2,000 in categories like indie sci-fi, indie horror, indie comedy, indie LGBTQ, socially relevant documentary, pop culture documentary, sports documentary, music documentary, of all these, about 20 categories. And what we're trying to do is promote these films. There are really good indie movies made for almost no money that you can rent on VOD, you can get on streaming, you can buy on DVD. And Award This is the, well, there you go. It's also a show that mocks Hollywood, makes fun. It makes fun of all the big studios and, you know, the big mainstream movies. And, you know, this is now our 5th year, and we kind of look at these movies like, and there's only 2 qualifications if you actually want to possibly be nominated on the show. 2 qualifications. 1, you have to have a review on Film Thread and be available in commercial release. That's it. So you have to be able to buy it or stream it somewhere. So we're promoting movies people can actually, after they see the show, they can watch it. One thing about the show and Film Thread has always been politically agnostic.
Is that difficult to do?
Yes, because no one else does this. I mean, The Hollywood Reporter, Variety, IndieWire, Deadline. I read all those trade publications, but they're just as compromised with activists as Disney or most corporate studios in Hollywood. So, you know, we cover movies that are both on the left and on the right, and they're assigned to appropriate writers. Like we will cover the latest drag queen documentary. And truth be told, I love drag queens. It's not entertainment for children. It's adult entertainment.
Right. It's always been. That's when I was hosting at the Stonewall Inn. There was drag, and it was back in not even that long ago. When did I start hosting that show? 2010, 2011. So even 10 years ago, there wasn't this social contagion preying on the kids element that we have now. It was really just for adults.
But I remember seeing John Waters' Pink Flamingos at the age of 16, and it like blew my mind at how like you can make a movie that's even like this, you know, like it kind of opened my eyes up. And filmmakers like David Lynch, Spike Lee, among others, like Steven Soderbergh in the 80s, like opened my mind to like, oh, indie film has something more to say than Hollywood bullshit. But I loved like Divine, who was played by an actor named Glenn Milstead, is one of the great drag queens of all time, who's been in, I mean, movies like Polyester and, you know, all the John Waters stuff. And I think drag queens are funny, but I wouldn't want a drag queen I would feel uncomfortable if there was a kid in the room. That I want a drag queen to be blue in terms of the humor. Make it blue,
right.
Double entendre. That's the best. But with a kid in the room, it's not comfortable.
No, it's
You
not
know?
comfortable. Even if I see like occasionally there'll be like a 16-year-old at a stand-up show of mine, and it really affects
Yeah.
how I do my set. It shouldn't, but I just go, all right. And I don't really curse much to begin with, and I'm not super graphic about my body parts. Never really have been,
Except
but
on
I'm just
Simcast. On Simcast is the
right.
exception. I watch Simcast.
But a
Love
live
it,
show, no,
you know?
I'm not gonna go like super blue. And I find, I guess this is just normal. Yeah, the older I get, the more I am married and pregnant. It's like, oh, I find myself talking about these other topics that are more current and also kind of more wholesome.
Mhm.
So it works out. When you mentioned the trade publications are basically decidedly leftist, do you think they're just nose blind to it? They don't care, or they themselves are all on the left, so they just think they're doing the right thing? Or you
Yeah,
just think
yeah, I would say like most journalists I know, they're more left leaning. I mean, I was always excuse me, I was always center left myself. I haven't changed. The world has changed. So, but I always think you have to like we'll cover the latest drag queen documentary on Film Thread, but we'll also cover Matt Walsh's What is a Woman? We which got a very good review on Film Thread. We'll cover and we covered it both on our YouTube channel and on the website. We don't always do that. But we did cover Candace Owens' BLM documentary. Huge disappointment to me.
really?
I don't
Oh,
think
I
I
haven't
don't
seen that yet. I wanted to
it's not
see it.
great. She doesn't really prove her case.
Wow.
I don't dislike her like everyone else does. I think the thing is this, like, I'm just willing, like, I think like a journalist should. I'll talk to anybody. People forget, like Barbara Walters interviewed Osama bin Laden. Does that she mean she's evil? Like
Right.
we live in
And
like
it's not
this
that's not how
dumb
it is today. People
yeah,
very much associate you with the people you talk to. We've all
right.
heard stories like, "Oh, so and so wouldn't even come on my channel because I interviewed this other person." And it's like, wow, how sad that's what we let define us.
I think it's pathetic. I think it's midget minded. I can't stand that kind of narrow minded thinking. And yeah, I don't like it. We're living in a time where idiotic, bad, and dumb opinions dominate, and it's really infected the rot is from the bottom up, and it's also weak leadership. For example, I live in Pasadena, California. Thankfully, I'm nestled away from the insanity that is Los Angeles. But if one of our politicians just wanted to use the bully pulpit to say, if you commit a crime in the state of California, you're going to jail. I don't care what the amount is. You're going to jail. I don't even care if you commit a crime, you're going to jail. Do you know how much crime would drop if people just used words? Like the mayor of LA, Karen Bass. I mean, LA is decidedly worse. I go into LA and it's like it is the Walking Dead downtown. There's this big when you drive down the 110 freeway, someone spray painted LA is not a safe place. Yes, it's not. It's awful now. And this all happened very quickly and we allowed it and I'm disgusted. So I'm not normally politically involved, but I have opinions about things. You ask me, I'll tell you, but it's just I remember I'm old enough to remember when politicians gave speeches that I thought were inspiring and
What?
actually
Inspiring?
made me feel good about being an American. And it's interesting the types of things that are not said out loud anymore. And it's interesting the types of things. I mean, Gavin Newsom's a fraud. That DeSantis debate was ridiculous. There is a very good video I
What was the
recommend.
point of that? It's like
Because
Newsom's
they're
not
grooming him. They're grooming him to be president because clearly he can be easily controlled. Gavin Newsom is not the one making decisions. It's all of the donors. We all know that. I mean, I think what was really interesting about the last couple years in the our reaction to the pandemic. I hate even calling it a pandemic. It's our reaction to what happened, right?
right.
That's our reaction is the thing that brought about all this bad stuff that put small businesses. I'm a small business owner, so this is important to me. But it exposed a lot of things, and it's exposed that most politicians on the left and the right are frauds. They're just owned by they're owned by all the special interests that give them money.
They don't care about freedom. They don't care about the middle class. They don't care about anyone with their own business.
Yeah. Well, the middle class is crumbling, uh, continues to crumble. continues to crumble, and it's disgusting. It's disgusting to see in real time. Anyways, comedy and
Yes.
movies.
Yes, comedy and movies, they'll never disappoint us. So that's really exciting. Any surprises at the award this? Any
Well, there were a bunch of ties. That's a big surprise. I don't expect that many ties, but it's all the editors of Film Threat that make these choices, right? So after like a year of covering almost 2,000 movies, we kind of look and we keep a running list of like what were the best. And we even use our own website, like look up like what were the top rated indie movies were reviewed in this window of time. So that helps us. And then a lot of the surprises, and then also there were some no-shows, some people that were confirmed to attend that like we had to like accept the award on their behalf. It happens at real award shows. I'm not saying that mine's not a real one, but I'll say this. Um award shows, and I'm not diminishing receiving an award at award this. All award shows are made up. They're all made up. I had this weird idea for a movie once, or I was going to just do it as a party. I wanted to do the Friend Awards. Right, have a party, and I would invite all my friends to this party, and they all knew they were winning an award. They just didn't know what
That
category.
is so cute. We did that at the end of the last Content House. Everyone got a little trophy and everyone got an award of something funny or ridiculous
Right.
that they had done or said based on the 3 days we were there. That's great.
But I'm not diminishing the achievement of winning the award to get to that place. And people get so emotional when they receive. That's the best part of the show to me is people get emotional. People cry. There's always a couple of people who cry. They give like an inspiring speech, like to get to on that stage in front of their peers, other indie filmmakers, and journalists from Film Threat, among other outlets. Like it's really fun because that's the part, like you don't know what's going to happen. None of that is scripted. The show is for the most part scripted, and a lot of it is for technical stuff. And then Lila coming up with I just said, hey, monologue here. This is where Lila's funny. And then she did a bunch of jokes at the top, and then just kept the show rolling. Her and John Bailey, our epic voice guy announcer, every year.
Great.
He's great. But like the point of the show is to promote the movies. The point of the show is that these are movies, like some of these movies are made for like 10 grand, and they're like little weird sci-fi movies, and they're just small micro budget films, generally under $1 million. But there isn't an award show that does that. And I felt that the Independent Spirit Awards were compromised. I feel like they don't really recognize actual indie movies. So I thought, well, I should do this. And so in 2019, we launched the first one, and we did it on a couch. Then we did it in a movie theater. Then when COVID hit, we actually did the event. It's on YouTube. We did it at a drive-in. And so we just did the awards, and people, it was very weird. Then we finally are at the Frida Cinema in Santa Ana, California. We started doing it, and it's a lot of fun. It's fun because we recreate all the experience. Like there's a red carpet, there's a step and repeat, there's a cocktail reception. We had
Everyone loves that. Yeah.
Everyone loves free drinks. Everyone got a gift bag at the end. It's everything you would experience if you went to one of those types of events. But the difference is anyone can buy a ticket. So you're mixed in with like the filmmaker, special guests, VIPs, sponsors, and someone who had $50 to spend who wanted to just come to the awards. So it's
I
fun.
love that. It does, and it keeps it from becoming like this elitist, snooty, snobby type thing. And so Film Threat just hit 100K on YouTube. Congrats.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Any of your videos that kind of blew up that you didn't see coming? Any surprises on what seems to get a lot of views?
Well, I'll tell you this. I vowed when I hit 100,000 subs, which was my goal. My goal this year was get to 100,000. What I was going to continue to talk to people and friends of mine who were under 100,000. I was not going to ignore them because my job now is to get you to 100,000. That's the goal.
Stop. That's not why I brought it up.
But you like the thing is, help out people and friends who've helped you. Like now you're next. Okay. Who of my friends like Paulie at Latino Slant, you among others that I think are doing amazing work. How do you get to 100? So 2 things that blew up. One was a surprise. One was not a surprise. Was our continuing coverage of the Marvels. whenever we did live streams and we would talk about the Marvels, which was in early November, we would get 1,000, 1,500, 2,000 people watching us live. That helped. The other thing is, and I give credit to my
watchers or genuine curiosity or fans.
I think there was always like a fun angle Alan and I could come up with, because I just love to. I mean, Alan and I we talk every day, but he's my work wife. Literally, we're just like because we're so connected. It's just like we're just always like have an ongoing conversation. Some of the conversations we live stream. Yeah. But it was the Marvels got a lot of attention. And then the other thing was Disney and this whole thing happening with the movie Wish. Alan did this review of the movie Wish where he pointed out, he demonstrated what was wrong with the movie by actually showing like video and examples like this is the fall of Disney. And when he did that, that got 50,000 views. And then it was passed around among people in the animation community. And about a dozen people.
This right here now, wow, it's up to 74K.
Yeah. It's okay. So it's gone up, but like, so it like that blew up. And then we had about a dozen or so former and current Disney employees reach out to us and start to tell us things about how bad it is at Disney. And Alan's working on a story that'll be on the website. Here's what I recommend. You should read the story. You should do a bunch of videos on the stories. Alan's going to do a series of stories. I think we're calling it the D-Files because it sounds like defile.
Yeah, that's great.
And then, but like that, I think helps. And also, as weird as this sounds, our editor and producer of the channel, Glenn Brown, he does shorts. He does little YouTube shorts. And that, what the shorts does is just expose you to other people. I personally can't stand shorts. I think it's their version of TikTok or whatever, but he'll do clips because I'll do an angry rant. So he'll do an angry rant or something funny that we comment on. But I mean, you're going to get there inevitably anyways. I think it's jumping on like what's in the zeitgeist. You have a good eye for that. Yeah, I watch your videos all the time.
Thank you, Chris. I'm excited to hear that I won't need to, post more thirst traps or sell my breast milk to get to 100K. I just need
you don't need to do that. Although I'm curious, I assume you're starting to show. I know I can't see.
A little bit. I just look like I've sort of given up physically. But if I wear something tight, you could definitely tell because I was just in such good shape just a few months ago that I can tell it's a big difference.
Well, I'm just curious if you're going to do like a stand-up special, pregnant, like Ali.
When would I do that? Let me see. So like I've got the last headlining show I have scheduled is actually February 24th. Gosh, maybe that will be something that I make into more of a special because I'll be, if I'm due April 19th, or I book something locally maybe in March because I can't fly after the beginning of February. That'll be the last flight.
Oh, wow. Maybe you do it on your due date.
Yes, I could live stream the whole thing.
Yeah, why not? Why not do that? But like, are you feeling physical? Like, look, I've been through 2 myself. And one thing my ex-wife did, which I thought she was relentless about this. She took oil with vitamin E and she looked like she was very skinny. And then when she got just from the back, you go, oh, just a regular person. She turned around. It looked like she was hiding a basketball under her shirt.
Oh, wow. That's the ideal. That's what everybody wants, is to not look pregnant from the back, which I think I'm accomplishing so far.
So but
I'm also like only 5'3", so you got to like watch it. You got to stay like working out, and it is tricky. Sometimes I look down, I'm like, is there a baby in there, or is this just what happens when you start eating bread again? Who knows?
But she every night she never failed. Every night, never missed it. Always rubbed this oil that had vitamin E on it.
Yep, I do that too. I have different oils and stuff, and that keeps you from getting stretch marks.
It works. I'm telling you, there's a recovery period, and then zero stretch marks because she was so just never. It was weird because we go to bed and it's just like, oh, the bed's all oily. It's like, no.
It's like you're with an eel. Yeah, it's like you're sleeping with a seal next to you.
I'm like, "What are you doing?" But it was fine, like, no, but, like, she was just very, regimented about it, and that's smart. I think it's smart,
I
and
think I've
so
missed one night the whole time, but yeah, same thing. And it's multiple oils, multiple creams in a
mhm,
certain order. And yeah, you just hear tips from other people who've been pregnant who are like, "God, this is what I did, and I didn't get any stretch marks." And
it works. I'm
not
telling
like
you.
it'd
Yeah.
be the end of
No,
the world, but like, yeah, you gotta do what you can.
yeah, exactly.
And then I had to, you have to make sure you go everything that you're putting on you, like whether it's cosmetics or like lotions, that it doesn't have stuff that's bad for the baby because that stuff all like seeps into your
Right,
skin. Yeah, you gotta
right.
retool it all. But yeah, I definitely gotta do some sort of Prager special.
Yeah, some Prager special, Prager comedy, get it all I
Prager Prager you, I'll call
yeah,
it. I'll invite
Prager
Dennis.
you,
Yeah.
Prager you. There you go. Oh my god. But yeah, 100,000 to me, it's inevitable, the trajectory that you're going, like, 'cause I saw a rate of growth, like, slow to, like, 1,000 new subs a month back in, like, August, September, and I was like, "Oh, we're not gonna make it, just mathematically not gonna make it." And then it was like, we got 8,000 new subs in 1 month, and it was really because of the Marvels
Wow.
and, and this Disney stuff. So it's like but also I feel like it's also gotta be organic to your channel. One thing I do watch whenever like, you get into, like, YouTuber drama that I don't understand, or comedian to comedian drama, I'm like, explain this to me, because I don't know. I don't keep up with that stuff, and it's like, "Oh,
Sometimes it seems probably like pretty insular because it's
right,
just involving like a certain group of comics or a certain corner of the internet, and
right,
that stuff might not interest a broad audience. So it's like you don't wanna do too much on that.
right."
But sometimes, yeah, like that there was a phase where I was just like really kind of fascinated by Stuttering John, and then now I'm like, I'm sort of bored of that, and I try to find a good balance between like fun, not entirely mean-spirited, but like fun gossipy topics,
Mhm.
um, mixed with like stuff I find interesting, any type of like comedy news. Like I thought it was so interesting. They're having a really tough time finding anybody to host the Golden Globes, and
Really?
they're coming up. I think it's the first week of January. Chris Rock won't do it. Ali Wong won't do it.
Wow.
Um, Tina Fey and Amy Poehler won't do it. And I'm like, are they afraid or are they just fucking over it? Is everyone sort of just are they just quietly bailing?
I think it's a no-win situation to host that big of an award show because it puts you under a microscope. So everything you've ever done and said is now up for scrutiny. You
Mhm.
can't win. The humor is not going to be funny because it's so compromised. There's going to be an expectation that the humor only appeal to one side politically, which is stupid. You should
It is
be able
stupid.
to. I mean, this is even with our award show, right? Like there you go. Yeah,
I
there
mean,
you go.
how, like, embarrassing. I mean, it's very embarrassing for Will because now we all know what a cuck is, but for
Right.
Chris, it's like, yeah, that's not something he was planning on having happen. That
And
kinda
it's sad
sucks.
they weren't even together, Will Smith and Jade like, I don't get into gossip
No.
stuff because I just don't care and don't pay attention, but it's like only as it affects, like, movies that I like, but, yeah, no, that's, seeing the decline of Will Smith is pretty sad. I remember being at Comic-Con, several years ago, and Hall H is the big thing at San Diego Comic-Con, you can't get into it. You wait and people wait in
Why?
line overnight. They made an announcement on the loudspeaker in the main hall where people are buying stuff saying, Will Smith is in Hall H. Please come and sit down. We ran in and sat down. Theater's like maybe a third, half full. It was sad that Will Smith couldn't draw people into Hall H, which is their
Damn.
biggest hall, like 8,000 people. Crazy. But yeah, I look, it's a matter of time, just the trajectory you're on. You're gonna get to 100,000. But the thing is I don't think you'll know what pops, but the Disney stuff is really important. Here's why I believe the Disney stuff is important because generationally speaking, one of the things that you're going to discover that is beautiful about being a parent, you get to re-experience everything through the eyes of your child. The first time they eat a raspberry, the first time they try a certain type of food, the first time they see a classic Disney movie that you also watched when you were a kid.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you will see Bambi through the eyes of your child, and it's like seeing Bambi for the first time. So this is the beautiful thing about being a parent is being able to just re-experience everything. Watching the first Star Wars movie just called Star Wars, or The Empire
Oh,
Strikes Back, those things. I mean, age appropriate, right? Like, as they
right.
get older, you kind of follow their interests. My daughter was never into she's not a traditional thinking kid when she was a kid and still isn't as an adult, but, she never liked Barbie. She just did not, and the default thing is to give a girl Barbie. So sh they gave her
Right.
Barbie. She loved Godzilla and Jurassic Park. She liked dinosaurs.
Oh,
It's just
wow. That's
a lot
really
of
your
kids
daughter.
yeah, kids love kids gravitate towards what they like, and that's fine. Um, but,
And good
you'll
for
get
you for not transing her over that.
that is a phenomenon I don't get. I have a weird theory that will get me canceled. I don't I don't know if I should say, but this just comes from being a parent and being an involved parent or whatever. I ran this by a friend of mine. I'm like, I'm looking at like, why is this happening? Why is this happening? Why are there so many parents doing this? And I remember when my kids were angsty teenagers. And that is a period. That's a whole other thing to get them through being a teenager and hormones and body changes and puberty and all that is rough. It's rough normally without influences from social media and TikTok. And I had an I remember what it was like to be a teenager. I'm just vividly am connected to that period in time. And I remember puberty being weird and then liking girls and, just it's weird. Everyone knows. But I kind of feel like, I don't know, someone's gonna I feel like almost like for a kid, from a kid's point of view, it's like going through that process is all the benefits of ending your life, but without the bad parts because you're becoming something different. So you get to see it's almost like Tom Sawyer going to his own funeral. The
Right, it's a good way to
cartoon,
reject your parents too. If
right,
you'll be very attracted to that if you really hate your parents and you're dealing with the feelings that you're, like, uncomfortable with yourself,
right.
and you're in it, so you don't know that it's gonna pass and you're gonna come out the other side of it, but it's a perfect thing to, like, really just, have your parents by the balls for too,
Right,
which is
right.
nerve-wracking.
It's a control thing. It's narcissistic, and then but the parents like are um basically told that they must accept this. I don't know. I think there's a phenomenon. I mean, I saw Matt Walsh's documentary, What is a Woman? I really enjoyed it. I thought it's a conversation we should all have. I mean, my issue with the Daily Wire stuff is it should be available to anyone. Like that movie Lady Ballers, which I thought was a fine comedy. It's not the greatest movie.
It should have been a wide release even if for, like, a couple weeks. They should have
Yeah,
tried to get it in some theaters, like,
yeah.
come on, there's no comedy right now, like, I thought that was a missed opportunity.
Huge missed opportunity. And like, look, there's a lot of people don't care about politics, don't want to like watch Ben Shapiro or Matt Walsh, just want to see a funny movie. It should be available on all the like streaming platforms, whatever. On Apple TV, you should be able to just spend $8 or $10 and just buy it. But you're forced
Yeah.
to do a subscription. I don't know. I mean, I do think that what it is, it's a great trailer and a good movie. So the
Right, it's like,
trailer
do
is
you
great,
wanna move culture? Do you wanna shape culture? Do you wanna
right?
actually put out a comedy film, or do you just want more subscribers? And when you're the Daily Wire, which I applaud the efforts, I love that
Mhm,
they tried. I don't mean for that to sound condescending. It's like,
right.
for their first go, and I loved your review of it, and I still haven't seen it yet. I need to see it.
Well, you gotta see it.
Um, I think it's like, yeah, anybody's first go at comedy is not gonna be a runaway success. They should keep doing it for sure. Um, and they should bring more comedy people on if that's what
Th
something they really
that's
wanna get good at.
what did bug me a little bit, and including that new show that Adam Carolla is doing. How do you
I haven't
build
seen that
up
either. Is that on the Daily Wire as well?
it's not out. There's just a trailer for it. I think it's called Mr.
Okay.
Burnham. It's about a woodshop teacher. I don't even know if they teach woodshop in school anymore, and I took it and metal shop. But, it's one of those things that, like, I mean, Megyn Kelly's doing a voice, and I like Megyn Kelly, don't get me wrong. I think her interviews, she's brutal. She doesn't care. She's really good at what she does, but she's doing a voice in a cartoon. They should have hired you. Okay? I'm sorry.
I was available,
I mean, you're
or whatever.
funny. You can come up with stuff, and I'm sure take what they give you and make it even better.
They are probably thinking they'd rather go for the household big names. They think
But
that's probably more important than who is necessarily the funniest.
But are the fans of Megyn Kelly gonna watch a stoner cartoon by Adam
No.
Carolla? The Venn diagram of that is not gonna cross over. But comedy, and the thing is, how do you build other people up? The thing that Hollywood has done in the past and what Daily Wire needs to do, if they really want to build something, build up new talent. You can't just have all of your podcast hosts be in a funny movie. And, and it's fine. I mean, Ben Shapiro plays a ref. I mean, Matt Walsh plays a complete opposite of himself, which I think he's the funniest thing. But the movie is a little too long. It's an hour 45. It should have been a hard 90 minutes cut down. And then when I saw the trailer for that, I'm like, what are you doing? Like, there are people in the comedy world, Ryan Long, like other people they could have gotten, right? That's it.
Okay,
Mr. Birchum. Okay, Mr. Birchum.
Fly through this really quick. I
Sure,
haven't
let's
seen
do
this
it.
yet.
Okay, you got to watch.
Tell me what you need.
Jump into the first one.
Rolling, speed, action.
Starbucks looking a little
looks
chubby
familiar.
wubby. So I bought him some new food. It's organic
God.
and vegan.
This is funny to see Megyn Kelly doing this.
meat. They're descendants of wolves. You ever see a vegan wolf on the Nature
I mean, this
Channel?
makes sense for Adam.
Vegan.
Coffee is for closers, ladies.
Okay, Gene, where's the
Hey,
comic?
don't make this a prison.
Don't do anything stupid. Earlier than last year.
I'm a heteronormative.
Okay, good.
cisgender
I'm glad
white
Tyler's in
male.
it.
For which I apologize.
I'm black, and that used to be enough.
Alonzo,
but I'm
okay,
also
he's a comic.
bilingual, and I'm non-binary. We're the Army. We
Okay,
train more
Rob
before
Riggle,
9
yeah,
a.m.
okay.
and you Navy pukes too old day.
He rubbed all the
perfect for
fur
this.
off his
Roseanne,
emotional
okay,
support
this is
there.
good.
The damn thing looked like a four-legged penis.
Charity and work.
Kyle
Two
Dunnigan,
words
yes.
That should never go together. Like women and opinions.
I want a burly man. They're salty and make me dizzy.
Sorry, just need to find a thingy to fix my
Oh, I'm
gaming chair.
so
When I
happy
was
for
on the
Kyle
construction
and
site,
Tyler.
My chair was a 5-gallon bucket. It was also my toilet.
This is cute.
Hey, I'm done. I'm going back to bed. Thanks a lot.
I fucking love Roseanne. This looks promising.
Yeah, and I don't know that necessarily all of that talent are right leaning. They're just more based, which I think more people are based than you think. And I think a lot of people are fake with their opinions, especially when it comes to virtue signaling and whatnot. I think a lot of that is, well, I retweeted, I put the flag in my bio, and now I'm set.
Now I'm gonna sit and wait.
I'm a good person now because I did a thing and I reacted and I was angry to a headline I saw, didn't read the article, but I'm mad about something, or like, I've never trusted the mainstream media ever. I think it's always been propaganda for the most part, but, I think just the last couple of years opened a lot of people's eyes and whatnot.
Yes, before we went live, you mentioned you're like, I'm losing tolerance for intolerance.
Yeah.
I think you said. I was like, that's a perfect way to describe it. It's become meaningless. And I've heard other folks describe the idea of the pendulum swinging back. It's like, it's not that it's a hard swing back. It's just that it's become meaningless. Activism has become meaningless. People don't take it seriously anymore. What's happening with the trans movement is what happened with the Me Too movement. People just kind of roll their eyes and go, yeah, okay, all right.
But I'm not going to disparage anybody that look, if you're an adult and you feel different, you do you. I've always been.
Of course. And
I'm Gen X. I'm like, you know what? When I moved to California, it was like, great. Everyone can be who they want to be. I love that.
That's never been a problem on a broad scale.
Never.
People were doing that. People were like, you talk to the OG trans people like Buck Angel, and it's like there was nothing stopping someone from adults from transitioning. Yeah, they would just put all their disposable income into that journey. It's just when it turned. That's why I think it's just a very evil. Like, okay, it's a depopulation agenda. It's like there's so much money to be made off of hormones. Big Pharma loves it. Bill Gates loves it. It's at the end of the day, nothing's really going to take off unless somebody benefits financially.
Well, we're one of the only countries in the world where prescription drugs can be advertised on television, which is the bread and butter of all the news media. If you made advertising prescription medications illegal or you banned it, it would put all mainstream news outlets out of business. They would be gone
Yeah.
within 2 years.
Right,
So
because pharma's everyone's biggest advertiser.
no, it's and I look, I don't know. I'll just say this: the medical industry in California is compromised. I mean, last time I went to the doctor, they're like, "What are your pronouns?" I said, "Make a guess." Make a guess.
You can tell by looking at me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm just I just you know what it was? I think it was before I felt this way before this. It was like attempts to cancel me because all I said was make Marvel male again, which I thought was funny. I thought it was just funny.
And
Like,
now
oh,
I have the shirt.
and now, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, X-Ray Girl. I was like, it's not really on brand for me to sell a shirt like that. Why don't you do it? So X-Ray Girl did that. Good on her. That's great. But yeah, no, I'm just like tired of it. I've had like friends I've known for over a decade, like come at me and unfollow me over like my dumb stuff I say on social media, which I have to remind them, like, I've always been a jackass that says stupid shit. Like
Right.
I've not been any different than I was when I was in my 20s. I think stuff, I say it. And the fact that you are going to hold that against me, you were never my friend. I don't have tolerance for this kind of stuff anymore. I'm going to call those people out. And I think the thing that really broke the dam was when Elon Musk said, go fuck yourself. We're
That was
done
cute.
dealing.
That was
We're
a cute
done.
moment. Yeah.
Yes, that was a watershed moment. It's a milestone, and it's like I'm done dealing with these people. Your opinions are stupid. You can't engage in conversation or even like have a debate, and then you won't talk to people because they have scary views that are different than yours.
They're dead weight. These people are not creative front runners. They're not moving culture. They're not like really contributing anything to society. They're just here to complain. And it's like, I have no patience either.
I'm done dealing with that sort of small-mindedness. I've always been open to ideas. I mean, Film Threat as a media outlet, we've covered John Waters movies, gay cinema, but also like trauma movies, which are like exploitation horror films like The Toxic Avenger. Film Threat's been this sort of, open. An independent film is just not a big budget movie studio film, and they're not mainstream. So we cover all of it. And I want everybody. I mean, it was a very mixed crowd at our award show. And that's what I love about it. I mean, even like the previous year, we awarded a film called The Boys in Red Hats. I don't know if you've heard of that film, which is about Nick
No.
Sandman. Remember the kid? He was wearing the red
Yes.
hats, all those kids. And there's the
Mhm.
Indian there. And then
Yeah.
there were
That guy
people.
ended up making bank from that.
He deserved it because they disparaged him, ruined his life and his family. And they were kids that went to like a Catholic school, like the Covington kids. It was like this religious school and the media coming after them. And some of the things I remember, some SNL writer said, I'll give money to someone who will go and punch that kid in the face. This whole punch a Nazi thing, the bar for what that is, it's just like the words don't mean anything. You've said them over and over. They don't matter anymore. We know, we get it. Keep calling these words. You've said them so many times. They've lost meaning. I'm done dealing with these people. I don't care. I tend to post and ghost anyways, but I just don't react. My time is better spent. I realized this in 2018 because I didn't like the first Captain Marvel movie. A bunch of people came after me on Facebook because I didn't like the movie. And I was called all the names. And I was just like, you know what? I post a lot on Facebook, and I estimated that the average book is between 50 to 60,000 words. Some of my rants on Facebook were 500, 1,000 words. Okay. If I did that every day on Facebook for a couple months, that's enough words for a book. That's a book. That's the secret. Write a book, get up at 5 a.m., write for 3 hours until you can't write anymore. Write at least around 1,000 words. People do that on Facebook, just getting angry. They'll write 1,000 words. So I'm wasting my time on social media. And I'm still on Facebook, but I just sort of point my Instagram. My Instagram is very innocuous. It's like, I did a fun thing. Here's me at a thing. Here's
me at a thing with this person.
LA Comic-Con. Here's me with Gary from Nerdrotic. We're at a bar. I convinced him to go to my favorite dive bar in Pasadena, which you've been to.
Yes, it's a great bar. I immediately recognized the pictures. I'm like, oh, it's Freddy's, right?
Freddy's 35.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm just done with these people. I reached that breaking point. I'm like, when like a friend that I've known for 10 years who I thought was a friend, like, I mean, if you cut out every friend that had different opinions than you, you'd have no friends.
That
You'd
tells
have no
me
family.
that you're more worried about your reputation than your actual relationships.
Oh, I remember the tweet. She was just like, "Oh, Jesus fucking Christ, Chris, I'm tired of defending you." Unfollowed me, quote tweeted me, and then made it so only people that she followed could reply.
Oh, that.
And it was just like, "Oh, that is a huge fuck you." And yeah, and Gary knows who this person is too. And
Yeah.
was like, "Oh, okay, this is a fake person who has to fake uh being a certain way publicly."
2016 broke a lot of people. 2020 broke a lot of people.
Yeah.
I just didn't think it would be so easy. Thank you, Jesus Davila, for gifting a membership. Russell Hall, you may want to check with Prawn to make sure the D files is available.
Oh, thank you, Russell Hall. Yeah, we're trying to like settle on a name for this series of Disney stories. The Disney Files is actually already taken, so
Okay.
yeah, we'll come up with something. But thank you for that.
Thank you for the super sticker. Explore Serenity. Russell Hall again. That cartoon could be great, but only if they actually listen to the talent they've got working on it and let them drive the show. Candace doesn't count. Well, it's Daily Wire, so they got to have Candace. They got to have Brett Cooper. They got
But
to
I
have
mean,
their
you
people.
can't do every show with. I'm glad Kyle Dunnigan's in it. Rob
Yeah.
Riggle. I've always liked Rob
Oh,
Riggle.
yeah.
You know, but like, and Alonzo Bowden is great.
Yeah.
I've met him when I was doing a podcast way back when. The same company that produced my podcast also did his, so I'd run into him in the office. So he was super cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's good. I think it's got that's how many comics they should have had on Lady Ballers, but I guess they're learning.
They're
And maybe
learning.
maybe it's more of an Adam Carolla driven project, which is why
Right.
he had probably more contacts.
Right, but leaning on, say, their podcast talent is like, come on, just keep those
It's
two
gonna get
separate.
old. It's definitely gonna get
It's old.
It's gonna get tired.
And
Yeah.
I like all of them. I like Brett Cooper. I watch her stuff. Megyn Kelly, I don't know. I just think it's a weird, like, keep them. You got your entertainment. You got
Stay in
your
your lane.
Stay in
Right,
your lane.
because
Yeah.
people give me shit when I try to cover politics, like, "Oh, what do you think you're doing?" Even I'll do a little appearance on Newsmax. "Oh, this grifter, this comedian pretending to be into politics." But it's like, okay, but it doesn't seem to work the other way around. Like, I don't know, maybe I just attract a lot of hate. But
No. Look, comedians have always commented on social issues, the zeitgeist, presidents. I mean, look at just look at like the great comedians, Richard Pryor. Like, just go back. I mean, like, comedians have always pushed the culture. So yeah, no, that's a BS. I wouldn't listen to that person. I would post and ghost.
Post and ghost. It's like the online pumping and dumping.
Yeah.
Russell Hall 2016 showed who a lot of people really are. Yes, it did. Mr. Tickle Trunk.
Hey, Mr. Tickle
Chris,
Trunk.
your friend was simply a useless coward. It sounds like it.
True. Well, she somehow felt. I remember running into her when I said that make Marvel male again. She's like, I defend you to a lot of people, and I'm like, that's not. You don't have to defend me at all. Like, You don't need to defend me. I can defend myself. It's cool. But people came at me for tweeting 4 words.
Jesus.
It caused a whole thing, and I'm like, I don't know. I just thought it was funny, But I mean, look, comedy. I think comedy at its heart, and this. It's taking a very complex idea or issue and distilling it down to a joke or even a small number of words. It's way more difficult to write a tweet that goes viral than to write an essay, right? Like to write, be able to communicate.
You have to understand economy of words. You have to know how some things are better said to a crowd versus some things are better read. Some things make for great tweets that wouldn't do well on a stage.
Right. And when you're writing a joke, you parse the words like this needs, I'm going to change this word to this one. It lands better. When you really get to hone a joke. I did stand up for a very brief time and I was like, oh, this is to be successful at this. This is your thing. And that's all you do. And I had other projects I wanted to do. I did it for a couple of years and then I was in an improv comedy group where I got to like do improv comedy with like amazing, talented people at it was at
Where are you at? Groundlings? Oh, IO.
IO West on Hollywood Boulevard, which has since closed. But that
Wow.
is where Tina Fey, Amy Poehler came from IO, the Chicago branch. Like I read both of their books, their bio books. They're great. Bossy Pants is Tina
I think
Fey's
I
book.
have Bossy Pants.
Yeah, and Yes Please is Amy Poehler's book. Great books. I mean, you learn like how they became kind of who they are and their life story, and it's interesting. And yeah, and a lot of times I'll get the audio version of the book because they read it. And in Tina Fey, she actually runs some of the sketches where she plays Sarah Palin, so it's really good.
Yeah, she was so great. Yeah, and that's part
Yeah.
of why Amy Poehler, that's part of why I started at the UCB right after college,
Right.
and did that for basically 5 years because I just didn't know where to start in comedy generally. And you had LA Comic-Con recently.
Yes.
You were in 3 panels: Death of the Modern Franchise, 99% of movies today are garbage, and Indie Filmmakers Survival Guide. Which of these panels do you think drew the most curiosity or did the best?
Oh, Death of the Modern Franchise, because that's a conversation that I mean, Gary Beekler from Nerdrotic is the one who came up with the title for that panel because I had a description, it was a different title, and he goes, "Ooh, how about this title?" And then I have a good relationship with the people at LA Comic-Con and programming. I said, "Here are the 3 panels that I want to do." And they just allowed me to do it. I can't say that that's true for other conventions that I think are just more careful, but the thing is these are the like look, there's like the Trans Philippine X Comic Creators panel. And that's great. And those panels should be out there. Love it. But there should be real diversity, which is diversity of thought. And everyone should have a chair at the table. More chairs, not taking chairs away. And I think what we've done is we've silenced the voice of one side of the conversation. This is not good for our culture. It's not good for politics. It's not good for our culture to demonize certain types of people based on their immutable characteristics. And I've always enjoyed talking to people that I disagree or their nuances. And I like to, one, it can help, solidify your views in a debate, but also it can open you up like, oh, I hadn't considered it from that point of view. That's interesting. So,
Yeah.
but we're at a time where people are not as intellectually curious as they should be. And that is sad because I just lose all respect for people like that because clearly they can't engage in a conversation because they're more interested in being right than having a real debate, which is
Why do
why
you think that is? I think I wanna blame social media that
yes,
people have gotten by for a long time now on surfacey takes. Our social groups have become more and more insulated, so we're not actually used to having to practice, stating our points and opinions, and, like, true debate is rare.
yes.
Um, and yeah, so few of us have friends that challenge us or that have different politics or different opinions on things.
Yeah, but Twitter is I think we've kind of learned. I mean, Twitter for me early on was like, oh, it's like I'll tweet a dumb joke I thought up. I mean, I think James Gunn did that, and then he deleted those years later, and then still people had screenshots, to try to cancel him. It was sort of like well,
Yeah.
I'm gonna just throw out a joke and see maybe this lands or it doesn't. And it was sort of like, your mental exercise. And we've sort of used it differently. Now, what I love with Twitter is it may not be the best for conversation, but I really love the community notes that
Yeah.
the president can get community noted. Gavin Newsom can get community noted. I
It's
love that.
funny.
It's great. And to me, it's like, it's diminished when you look at like the so-called real journalists, the ones that get paid. There are better journalists doing things just on Twitter. Like when Elon went to the border, it's like, I just want to see for myself. Right.
It's
Like,
even the playing field, it's taken away. Journalism is no longer this kind of institutional elitist
right.
type job that
Yes.
you can only have if you know the right people.
It's truly democratized journalism because I believe that currently, there's the thing of like the fourth estate, which is journalism. The fourth estate is just now a tool of the state. Talking about mainstream media is just a tool of the state in its current
Yep.
form. And Twitter is the only thing that has broken that, which is why it's just so weird. It's so obvious. Like they go after certain people, and it's like, I know they're going to come after me at some point for a lot of the things that I've done and said. And there's hours and hours of stuff you could pan for gold and find me saying some weird take that would get me canceled. I think everyone has that, you know?
And you
And
listen to these, even God, the only time I ever even hear anything about SNL is there's a clip online of something, and but if you look at left-wing outlets or listen to SNL, like how quickly they just dismiss Twitter as a hate speech platform, or like Elon Musk is pro hate speech. And I'm like, how fucking intellectually stunted. Like it's actually retarded. And that's your whole take on Twitter. Oh, it's just hate speech now. What the? It's so sad. It's
well,
like what?
it's out of balance. It's out of balance for sure. It's so out of balance, the conversation. I mean, ideally, in a writer's room, you would want people with left-leaning views and right-leaning views who have a sense of humor about themselves. The problem is, I believe, for the most part, as I've observed, people on the left do not have as much of a sense of humor about themselves. They just don't.
No.
So,
They're more concerned with being right than being self-aware, than with being funny, than with being, fun to get along with.
or
So,
as Elon pointed out, they care more about looking good and then
yes,
doing evil, right? Like it's
that was a
sick.
great point.
That I think was better than the go fuck yourself, was that point he made, because that describes so many people that I know, is they care about, here's how I look online. I posted a thing that shows that I agree with the current thing. And it's like, I do think that we're going through a growing pains as a culture right now with just everything that's happening. But I think the biggest thing, which is why I'll bring it back full circle to another project, Attack of the Doc. My whole thing with that was to remind people of a time when we weren't so divided, the early 2000s, right? I mean, it was,
The best time.
I'm not
The
saying
early
things were
aughts,
perfect
man.
then, but like ending the documentary Attack of the Doc with like, look, G4 and Attack of the Show may not be around anymore, but all these people, YouTube has filled that space. If you want to learn about comic books, movies, video games, or just people talk to each other, you're in the doc for like, I think it's a fraction of a second.
Yes, I
What do you
remember.
think?
I was honored.
Yes,
I'm adding it to my bio.
but by design, there were people, a variety of people from YouTube in that closing montage by design, because I wanted to make the point of, because I truly believe if we can actually just learn to talk to each other respectfully, we can solve actual problems. Because right now I
Yeah.
feel like the problem solving, at least the problem solving is just kicking the can, and there's not a resolve to problem solve at all. There's no
Right.
resolve to problem
It's why
solve.
so much money, time, effort, of those in power goes into keeping us divided. Like, let's find reasons to keep everybody divided. Let's do whatever we can to keep these conversations from happening. Because I remember I had a girl on, she was an adult film star. She was on my Compound Media show, and it was really amazing over the course of just this 1 hour episode that we did. We completely changed her mind on what Gays Against Groomers was. And she was convinced, and we talked about what our different algorithms are serving us on a daily basis. She was convinced that Gays Against Groomers were just literally like a group against gay. Don't think gay people should exist, was the extent of her understanding. We're like, no, it's like they don't. The whole why people are upset is because like most people are fine with trans adults existing, living, but like this pushing it on kids, the getting these certain books out of schools, but then it takes somebody on the left, they go, oh, look, the banned books, and then everyone's been posting like, they'll have a big display in Barnes and Noble. Oh, look at the banned books that don't appear to be banned at all. It's just we just don't want kids reading porn, and I was really proud. I feel like I did more good with that one person in that one episode, genuinely changing her mind, and not in a way that was like, "You're wrong, you're stupid, you're brainwashed," because you can say that for people on either side of the political spectrum. But I'm like, wow, this is like real conversations, and I just gave her so much props because I'm like, there's so many people that won't even come on any of my shows just by like, for whatever reputation they think I have, and it's it was a very cool moment.
Yeah, no, I think I know. Look, I tune in, I watch your live streams. They're fun. I kind of, and you do like, obviously there's a lot of funny stuff, but then like you'll drill down into an issue and it's really interesting to hear different opinions. That's what we
Oh.
should all be doing. So there you go.
Do you think with the sort of fall of Disney and the success of films like, well, Godzilla Minus One was just a really good recent example. Do you see any sort of foreign entity kind of overtaking Hollywood as the sort of new go-to for film and television?
Well, I think that Hollywood has become less relevant. The films do not resonate outside of the United States, and they, for the most part, especially when they push the message, to quote the critical drinker,
The
it
message.
it doesn't resonate with mainstream audiences. It just doesn't. And I think that it's to the point now where people see a certain type of film and like go, even if it's not, because there is sort of a thing of like a type of person that's like, this thing is woke because of this thing, and it's like not necessarily. It's I think that's sort of the same energy. The person who says everything is woke, all this stuff is woke garbage, to the same energy of everything is racist. No, not everything's racist, not everything's woke. But Hollywood is just less. Hollywood used to make movies for the world that resonated because the storytelling was so like deep seated in our lizard brain, and uh, you know worked across languages, different cultures, which is why the fall of Star Wars has been so sad to witness, because it's something that resonated everywhere. It's like one of the only movies that's been translated. I have a DVD of Star Wars translated into Navajo. That never happens. You don't take a movie and change the language into Navajo, right? It's just not one
Wow.
they cater to, because the market.
Unless you're Elizabeth Warren, of course.
Right, exactly. But when you look at the box office at the theater, there have been classic movies that have been re-released. You've got concert films, Taylor Swift, Dolly Parton, Beyonce have concert movies that are come to theaters and done really well. You can watch UFC fights. I think that seeing a premium format entertainment on a big screen, I think that's going to thrive. What percentage of that will be movies made by big studios from Hollywood? I don't know anymore. I think that it's going to diminish because you've got foreign films from India, South Korea, Chinese cinema. I mean, I go see these movies regularly, and you just see when the number of screens, it's like, well, the Marvels, that it's not. I mean, it was not in premium format like after like the first week, because it was making like $200. Oh, here we go. Courtney Body says the fall of Star Wars started with that holiday special. Well, that was 1970. I don't know about that, Courtney, but
It was the beginning of the end. Oh, and this one from Matthew Hammond. Has Chris considered creating film theory videos to allow people to bypass film school and make movies, essentially best practices to avoid mistakes? I think that was something you covered in one of your panels, Indie Filmmakers
Yes.
Survival Guide.
You should. Thank you, Matthew. We are going to be doing like different shows on Film Threat next year. I need a little bit of a break, and then I'm not actually taking any break. I'm doing my normal live streams. Thank you, Matthew Hammond, who's also in our chat often. I appreciate that. A big supporter. Yeah, we want to do something like that. I mean, that's part of what Award This is. It's like what helps an ecosystem of movies, and awards and recognition is useful. It helps you choose, well, if this movie won Best Picture for the Oscars, I should probably see that movie, or see at least the 5-6 movies that are nominated for Best Picture. I should watch those. Those are the most important films of the year. Whether it's the best one, we'll see at the awards, and that's why we created Award This. But yeah, I do want to create a series where, and the Indie Filmmakers Survival Guide panel that we did at LA Comic-Con, which you should check out, was that I basically just had a lineup of people just ask a question, because every filmmaker gets stuck at one point. It's either writing, screenplay, how do I write a script, money. Those are the two big things. And how do you do certain things? And so this panel, I had a bunch of filmmakers on a panel, and then people that were stuck, they got in line, asked their questions, and got a lot. I call it the chair of destiny. Come up and sit in the chair of destiny. And it's funny. This always happens. I'll shame them, and I'll say, because I'll say, everybody come up, line up right now, ask your question. This conversation we're having now could change your life.
Wow.
You're going to get a piece of advice from this panel here that will change the trajectory of what you're doing. why are you sitting in your chair right now and you're not running
Love that.
to the front of the line? But it's to demonstrate that like you got to go for it at every level, whether it's just asking a question. And it's the three things that are the hardest to say, which is I love you, I'm sorry, I need help. Those are the three hardest things to say out loud.
I can't say I need help. I'm good with the other two.
Yeah, I'm good with the other two. The I need help. I'll do it myself. I don't want to bother anybody.
Yeah.
Yeah. But what can I say?
Wow, that's really cool. I could totally see you doing a film school.
Well, it might be a fun thing
or like
for
a master class.
Yeah, yes, come up with a name for it and then just say, look, this is we're gonna go deep. We're gonna I'm gonna give you websites and people you should reach out to. This is gonna be the ultimate. Yeah. Yeah, I should do that. Thank you, Matthew Hammond. Appreciate that.
Oh, he's back again. Hollywood lost people. When their award winners were not popular and a financial success, the best picture winners once were the top grossing movies. Now I don't even know what movies came out until the award shows. And I'm like, oh, what?
You can look up a chart. We actually, when we did our Oscars watch party in March earlier this year, we showed a chart, which was like the best picture winners, how much money they made, and then all of them, and it was all declining. And then, which that coincided with the declining ratings. The Oscars was like the Super Bowl.
Right.
It's huge. Now it's just not as important, but Hollywood isn't as important.
No, it's interesting. I never thought I would see that in my lifetime. It's been very cool. JR said, did you see Doug Stanhope's movie, The Road Dog? It's about a washed up comics final running comedy. No, but I love Doug Stanhope. And
I do as well. Doug Stanhope.
Just a cool guy. I opened for him once in Connecticut a couple of years ago. Just the best hang. So I will definitely watch this, and maybe I'll do a little review. Maybe I'll invite him to Turning Point USA because that's in Arizona. That's where he lives. And I'll be there actually this weekend. My first ever conservative Coachella.
Is that what it is? What are you going
described it. I think I'm just going to be I'm a special guest, but I'm going to be doing a lot of live streaming. I'm going to grab a lot of interviews. And then thank God Ryan Kinnell's going as well. So I'll have a buddy. I know a lot of the speakers. I've interviewed a lot of the speakers that are on, like James Lindsay, Brandon Tatum, Roger Stone's going to be there, and everyone's up in arms because Roger Stone's called DeSantis' wife a cunt. I'm like, the things that people fixate on and get. I was gonna go, but now I'm not gonna go because he called DeSantis' wife a cunt. I'm like, oh, okay, isn't that what we loved about Trump? So, and who else is gonna be? Oh, Tim Pool, like all the classic people that you would expect. And Roseanne, God, I mean, if I can meet Roseanne, I'll just offer to do her dry cleaning all weekend. Like, I just love her.
Well, that's cool. So. Say hi to Ryan for me. I'm going to see him on Friday. I'm
cool.
Guest co-hosting on Geeks and Gamers Daily, which is a show I watch in the morning anyways, but I'm literally in bed, like going through my email on my phone while Geeks and Gamers is like, I'm listening to it in the background, and I'll comment every once in a while. But yeah, I guess I have to be on the show now, which means I got to get up early.
You got to put pants on.
I don't have. Well, I've got what I wore to bed on already. It's just some sweat.
I'll have days like that too, with the pajamas then blend into the day wear, and then you're like, I can't wear this to bed again.
Yeah, no, I've done that. Where you do it all day. I gotta put pants on though. I feel like I'm in work mode when I have pants on, but like the morning is just sort of like whatever.
Yeah.
I'm actually wearing Pabst Blue Ribbon sweatpants.
Oh wow.
That means anything.
PBR. Yes, I was
PBR.
Raised on that beverage in college.
Yeah. Well, it's still cheap. It's still like $4 for a big can.
Oh yeah. It's the best. I absolutely adore you, Chris. What is coming up? Where can people follow you other than on Twitter at Chris Gore, Film Threat, and Award This?
Yeah, follow that. Those are all my projects, and Attack of the Doc, which is going to be on Tubi. I'm very excited. We did a deal with Tubi. It's coming to Tubi, which Tubi has movies like The Batman, and like they're doing a big campaign. They're advertising on the NFL. So that's our, we released it on video on demand and then Blu-ray, and then now on streaming. It'll be coming to Tubi. I'm very excited. But yeah, no, just follow me on all the things, and we do live streams on Film Threat twice a week. So join me Wednesday 1 p.m. Pacific, Fridays at 9 a.m. Pacific. The reason I do the show on Fridays at 9 a.m. Pacific,
No competition.
well, not necessarily. It's there's other shows on that I watch. I can't miss FNT. And
Oh yeah,
I love
know the feeling.
FNT, and he moved it up to 1 p.m. I usually had like a good break in the middle, but like Gary moved up to 1 p.m. to kind of accommodate as I love FNT. When I discovered it, just always watch it. It reminds me of how I talk to my friends in real life. We give each other shit. We disagree about things. And then we're still friends.
And yeah, you still make fun of each other. You still rib each other. It doesn't mean you hate each other. I love those guys.
The whole point of this country is that we can disagree and coexist, like the bumper sticker. But I'm sick of people who seem to espouse certain ideals and then act differently in real life. They need to be called out. And I'm not going to call them names, but I'm going to engage in a discussion, in an intelligent discussion. And I just like Elon opened the floodgates, but I already felt that before he said it. Because
everyone was feeling it. He said what everyone was feeling, and it just was very cathartic.
I want a t-shirt.
Yes.
I want an Elon t-shirt. So, yeah. But thank you, Chrissie, for having me on. I always love talking to you. It's always like
talking to you too.
Usually when I see you, it's like you're surrounded by a ton of people. We don't get to talk for more than a few minutes.
I'm getting mobbed by fans.
You are getting mobbed, but like you're on the road to 100,000. That should be like a show, Road to 100,000.
Yes.
You have to do 100,000 celebration stream, but it's just a matter of time. It's just a matter of time. And then I will see you in January for your shows.
San Diego.
Can't wait. I love San Diego.
I'll be even more pregnant then.
Oh my God, that's great.
Ooh, let's see. Maybe I'll find what I struggle with is finding stage outfits that fit my new snowman form. Because I had it down. Like I had my stage outfits down. I knew like, hey, boots, these pants, these shirts, these dresses. And now it's like potato sack with a belt. Fuck. What am I gonna do?
I'm sensing stretchy leggings and
yes, stretchy leggings. These are my gym pants, which became my podcasting pants. But I'll have to take them off because sweat. This was great. Thank you, Chris. Thank you to the chat for your comments and questions. And we will see you guys. I'll be back here at 5 p.m. Eastern with the Tyler Fisher. So we'll see you guys.